This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening again, Lion Facilitator, other distinguished Lions, Leos, fellow Lions. Good evening. I am Lion Sandra, and on behalf of the GLT Coordinator, Lion Shirley Patel Hendricks, Past Council Chairperson, PMJF, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to the third workshop in this series for incoming officers in Regions 2 and 3. We will commence with a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for this opportunity where we can come together to learn how to improve ourselves and our service as we seek to serve others. We thank you for the skills that you have given to us, and we pray that as our Lion Facilitator seeks to share some of his knowledge, that you would open our minds, open our understanding, so that we will be better equipped to serve those whom we are called to serve. We pray your blessings on this evening's presentation. These mercies we ask through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
So in this first workshop, the focus will be on the role of treasurer. It is therefore my pleasure to introduce the facilitator, Lion Hyacinth Jeremiah, who joined the Lions Club of St. George's, Grenada in October 1995. He has served in all board positions except that of secretary. He's held the office of president on 3 occasions. He's also served as zone chairperson, zone 3C, and region chairperson of region 3. He has been an outstanding leader in the movement, being awarded for his outstanding leadership as zone chairperson and region chairperson of the year. He was also awarded by his club for his outstanding leadership as president. His professional life, Lion Hyacinth is a certified chartered accountant and a certified fraud examiner. He is the managing partner of the accounting firm he started approximately a decade ago, Jeremiah Business Consulting. He's married and has 3 children. It is now my pleasure to again introduce and hand the session over to Lion Hyacinth. Lion Hyacinth?
All right. Thank you, Lion Sandra. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to do this presentation. I must say that it is my first time in doing such thing, and I would like you all to forgive me if I don't meet your expectation and if I may falter along the way. However, I'll endeavor to do my best, and let the session be interactive as we move along on the slides. All right. So this presentation is about the treasurer. I must say that the first time way back in 1995, when I joined the St. George's Lions Club, before I completed my first year as a Lion, I was handed the treasurer's position. I don't know if it's because I was a young accountant at the time, but way back then, the first position I was handed was the treasurer's position. And they kept me in this position for 5 years. Eventually, I decided that I was not going back, and I handed it over. All right, so let's move forward.
As soon as you start getting water.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Lion Hyacinth.
Oh, I thought somebody was saying something. All right, the treasurer. The treasurer is responsible for overseeing the management and reporting of the club finances. Remember, it says the management and reporting. So you have to take control of the club's finances and report it to all involved, whether it's the members, the board, the district, international, government agencies. As a treasurer, you are responsible for reporting the performance of the club to all who involved. And as with all the other positions, the specific duties of the treasurer are listed in the standard club constitution and bylaws. So the duties are in the constitution, and I'm going to follow it as it is in the constitution with some additional tips to you. All right. Who is the treasurer? The treasurer is the financial management of any organization is directly tied to the treasurer's responsibility. And the execution of those responsibilities will have a direct impact on the public's and members' perception, trust, and assurance of what is actually happening in the club. With everything else, the money is a very contentious issue. And if you can report clearly to all involved, the members and the public, whenever you do a project or whatever it is, you report the performance to the public, they will feel comfortable and trusting you with more of the funds. If you don't do that, people will always have some perception about what is happening in the club, where the money is going, how much empathy you are having, and I don't think it's necessary for me to give the club the money. But once you all are doing things and putting it outside there, reporting what you all are doing, it will increase the trust and perception. Because remember, perception to a lot of people is reality. All right. So with this in mind, the treasurer should have some form of financial knowledge. If you're going to be the treasurer, you need to have some kind of financial knowledge, the ability to manage your own finances. You have to pay attention to details. You have to be timely in completing your tasks, be clear and accurate in your recording, in your record keeping. And you have to be willing to ask tough questions. As somebody who deals with money, you have to be straightforward, you have to be candid, you have to be tactful, and you have to ask tough questions. If there is a project and money is missing, you have to be straightforward, blunt. Where is the money? If people are not paying them the dues and year after year they are in the club, you're supposed to be able to know how to approach them and ask them for the dues. You have to be prepared to ask them tough questions. We move forward. Right, the duties and responsibilities of the treasurer, as I said, it is clear in the Constitution. If you look in Article 3, Section 6 of the Standard Club Constitution and Bylaws, it spelled out the duties and responsibilities of the treasurer. It has 8 specific rules of the treasurer. And let us look at each one. First, it says receive all monies. And if you realize I highlight it, I bold it, I capitalize it. Receive all monies from the secretary. And remember, they say from the secretary and otherwise. So if you're receiving the monies from the secretary, that means the money has to go to the secretary first. The reason why, it must be recorded in the minutes. It must be recorded in the minutes. So when you bring monies at the club meeting, the first person you go to is the secretary. The secretary will accept the money, prepare a receipt, and hand it to you. Otherwise mean, for example, if you have a party or dance, you have a bar. I mean, you wouldn't wait until them to bring their money to the meeting. You might count it right there, where and 2 or 3 persons them count it. You use them like safe and you deposit it in the bank. But of course, you have to come in the meeting and report it to the secretary so that it can be recorded in minutes. All monies has to be recorded in the minutes. And you will see why as we go forward. And it has to be deposited in a bank. Right, it has to be deposited in the bank. Section B, arrange for issuance in cooperation with the secretary. If you realize as treasurer, you have to interact a lot with the secretary. Quarterly statement to each member for dues and other financial obligation owed to this club, and report the payment to the board of directors. So that means all monies received must be reported at your board meeting. All monies received must be reported at the board meeting, and I say quarterly, you give them statements to your members. I would say that you only give them statement to those who are owing. And those who are in good standing, you could give them a good standing card. This isn't not in the Constitution, but I think this is a good practice. All right. The next slide. Section C of that same, subsection C of that same section says pay out monies in payment of club obligation only on authority given by the board of directors. So that only tells me there that the monies will be only authorized to be paid out by the board of directors and must be recorded in the minutes. So right there, all incoming monies would be recorded in the minutes. All outgoing monies will be recorded in the minutes. In an auditor, one of the first things I will ask for as the auditor, is your board minutes and your journal minutes as well, because I know that's where I will get all the information concerning the finance of the club. Section D states that have custody and keep and maintain general records of the club receipts and disbursement. Keep and maintain general records. So recording is very important. Recording is very important, because if you have, the Constitution also speaks about ensuring that your records have been audited. For it to be audited, you must have records. Because if you just keep money and deposit it and write checks and pay, and you don't have any records, the auditor may not be able to audit it. So I said records must be kept of all financial transactions. Subsection E states that to prepare and submit monthly and semi-annual financial reports to the board of directors of this club. So every month, every board meeting, as treasurer, you're supposed to have a financial report to the board. And that financial report basically contains your receipts and your disbursement. Your receipts and your disbursement, and of course, what your bank balance is. All right, so I said that I recommend that quarterly or semi-annual financial report be prepared and give it to the general membership as well. Because I think, as I said in the beginning, if you are reporting to the general membership, the perception of what is happening in the club would be quite clear of what is happening in the club, and members will be willing to support and put their finances in the activities of the club. So while you give them board a report every month, I recommend that you give the general membership either a quarterly report or a semi-annual report. Section F, I'm said to give bond for the faithful discharge of the officer's office in such sum with such surety as determined by the board of directors. Basically, what they are saying there, insure the person. Take out a bond insurance and make sure in case the person take the monies, at least the insurance will then pay you back. But what is important there, before the insurance can take that risk, they will do an investigation. They would go out and investigate where that person worked. Had they had any problem before? Were they involved in cash? What is the report on them? And once they are in good standing, they would be willing to bond that person. If they're not in good standing and the club insists that that person is a treasurer and they want them to be bonded still, well, I guess you know what the premium will be. Next. Deliver in a timely manner at the conclusion of his or her term in office the financial accounts, funds, and records to his successor in office. So right now, you are incoming treasurers. You are expected to receive all the records of the previous, well, the current linistic year. The person has to turn over all the balances of members and the checkbooks, the deposit books, all the records concerning the financial management of the club. So at the end of your term, you are expected to do the same. Subsection H said, which is the last one, you have to serve as chairperson of the finance committee. All right, you have to serve as chairperson of the finance committee. Let's look at the finance committee because you are the chair of the finance committee. The finance committee, chaired by the club and treasurer, has to establish a detailed budget for the approval of the club's board of directors, ensure proper documentation and authorization of funds, arrange for the annual audit of club accounts, and ensure the delivery of all financial information to the successor. So it's basically, they're repeating some of the things in the duties of the treasurer, like ensuring that the accounts are audited, ensuring that proper records are kept, all funds are authorized, and monies are disbursed only on the authorization of the TM board. So you as the treasurer, you'll have a few persons along with you to ensure that these things are done, and that group is the finance committee. And as I said in the bottom, budget has to be prepared separately for administration and activities accounts. You have to have two sets of budget, one for admin and one for your activities account. It can be, you can prepare it in total for the year. So you look at the whole year as a whole. You look at the year and prepare the budget for the year. When you finish and prepare for the year, then you can break it down into months. So for example, if you know that most members pay their dues in August, when you break it down monthly, the greater portion of dues will be budgeted in August. And probably one or two members will pay in September, October, and so on. When you reach in January again, members will pay probably 80% of the dues in January. Then you put about 80% of your total budget for the next 6 months in January. So as I said, you prepare it for the whole year, and then you could break it down by months. And some people will want to divide it by 12 and put the same amount every month. But in my opinion, that doesn't give a good reflection of what is happening and may not be the best for decision making. All right. Next slide. As Finance Committee, at the beginning of the lianistic year, you are required to review the income and expenses of operating the club, which is basically the administrative account. Review all the dues, all the fundraisers, the tail twisting, the fines, and see generally, let's say for over the last 3 years, how it has been, and determine whether it's sufficient to pay international dues, district dues, contribution to the district, such as the disaster fund, traveling for the president, the secretary, stationery, rent, and other expenses of running the club. And look at it and then determine whether the dues is enough or it needs to be increased. Every year, as the finance committee, the finance committee coming in should do that test. And if it's fine, if it's okay, you continue. If it's not, I guess you have to bring a resolution to the general membership for the increase of dues. All right. Next slide. Continuing with the finance committee, the committee should ensure that activities and administrative funds are not commingled. They should be deposited separately in the bank and also accounted for separately. They should have two separate set of records. Records are your admin activities, records are your activities account. All funds raised from the public must be returned to the public. All funds raised from the public must be returned to the public. The only deduction that may be made from your activities accounts are the direct operating expenses for fundraising activities. Money accumulated from interest on investment of public funds. So for example, you might have a big fundraiser and raise about $200,000. You decide to put it in an insurance company because the insurance is offering them 10 or 15%. The interest on that money has to go back to the public and should not be used for club activities or to use on members. It must be used back in projects. All right. Next slide. I put in this slide there from the board of directors because the board of directors has a little part to play, and the treasurer has been a part of the board of directors, has to pay attention to that as well. In the Constitution, it says that the board shall not authorize nor permit the expenditure for any administrative purpose of the net income of projects or activities of this club by which funds are raised from the public, which is what I just explained. But I just want to show you that the board also has a responsibility for ensuring that administrative and activities accounts and funds are not commingled and it should not be used for each other. The other section under the duties and powers of the board of directors, it says that the board shall authorize all expenditure, which we said in the treasurer's responsibility, and shall not create any indebtedness beyond the current income of this club, nor authorize disbursal of club funds for purposes inconsistent with the business and policies authorized by the club membership. So if you budget $100,000 for the year, you cannot spend 120. You must spend 100,000 or less. The Constitution clearly states that you should not spend more than you earn, and you should not put the club in any debt whatsoever. Right? And whatever you said that the monies are going to be used for, this is what it has to be used for. Right? In a certified fraud examiner, I would tell you that when you use monies for purposes other than what it is intended for, that's fraud. So you might be committing fraud and you are not aware of it. So I just wanted to give you a little example of preparing your budget. So for example, your administrative budget, as I said, the administrative budget has to be prepared separately from the activities and budget. So we're looking at your administrative budget, and I just am putting them areas and figures randomly. So under income, at your dues, I said that there are 25 members in the club. They are all paying members. You don't have any honorary or affiliates or so. You have 25 members. Your dues is $350. You multiply 350 by 25, and you get your budgeted dues for the year. Let's assume that there would be no new members for the year. So the 25 by 350 is your budgeted dues for the year. If you plan to take in members, it depends on the month you plan to take them in. You also have to prorate them and prorate it by the remaining time in the hellenistic year. If every year you do an anniversary dinner, the price is $150 a ticket. We know that 5 members always carry a spouse with them, and we know for sure we usually expect about 30 persons. We say 150 by 30. Raffles, we usually have raffle in business meeting. So we have 12 business meetings for the year. And on average, it's about 18 persons that come to business meetings, give and take. But more or less, 18 persons usually come. We say 12 meetings by 18 persons by $5 a raffle. So at least you have a method in terms of how you're arriving at your figures. Then same thing for tail twisting. Usually $5 for tail twisting. On average, you have 18 persons coming to a meeting. You have 2 meetings a month, 24 meetings a year, because you have both in business and social, and you do tail twisting at both meetings. You multiply it out and you get a figure. I'm looking over 10 years when you have your zone meeting, installation, and visit. If you look over the last 3 years, you realize on average, I usually collect about $1,500. You budget $1,500. So if you look at the expense, it's the same principle. Then $43 per person by 10 US rate, I use an EC there, by 25 members, then district dues. Well, I didn't put in disaster fund and so on. If you look at it, at the expenses, you calculate it You add it up and you budget as surplus, or you could decide to spend all and there is no surplus, but there should never be a budgeted deficit. According to the Constitution, you should not spend more than you earn. All right? So I don't know if anybody have any question in terms of preparing the budget, as we could move on to the other one, which is the activities budget.
Lion Hyacinth, if I may. This is Lion Carlton Camper from the Sabre Lions Club. I had a question in specific to the point that you spoke about breaking down your budget over months. What is really the benefit of breaking down the budget over months rather than, let's say, over activities?
Well, the thing about it is that you will, when you speak about activities, you're talking about projects?
No, I mean, like, let's say you gave the designation on the, how do you say, the administrative budget, for example, for an MJF dinner or something or the other, rather
Right.
than breaking it down just by monthly things or what happens in the month. We usually calculate it or estimate it based on the events we're going to be having as a club.
Okay, right. So what I'm saying, in preparing your annual budget, in order to arrive at your annual budget, you will have to look at your activity, prepare the budget for the activity. All right. Let's say your dinner or a raffle or something, right? You prepare for the activity, but the activity will happen in a month. So let's say it usually happens in December. So when you do the budget for this activity and you now go to break it down by month, that activity would be in December. Or that budgeted figure would be in December. So when the income come in December, you could compare your December actual to your December budget because you know the activity would be in December. So then at that point, it would be a lot more useful, if you understand where I'm coming from. Because what, well, if you go to the district, the treasurer's report in the district, every month you have to do a budget. I mean, every month you have to submit your report. And in the report, it asks about your budget and what percentage have you achieved so far, and how is your projection going. It's monthly. So you have to answer according to your monthly budget. Am I answering your question or not?
Not fully, because I'm when I understood you the first time around it, I understood of breaking down the budget to estimate how much you're potentially spending or bringing in a month. But my question is, overall, we can't, how do you say, overspend. So I'm just trying to think what is the added value for me wanting to know that level of detail. But because at the international level, or sorry, at the district level reporting for treasurer, we do a cumulative um, expenditure and income at a thing, and that makes sense. But I'm thinking if I have my budget, why would I want to see exactly when what comes in at what month? Because from experience, we know we have certain annual events that take place. Usually they are in the latter part of the year. So, yeah, most of your income has been generated. So I'm
All
just
right.
trying to figure out why the oversight of a breakdown for the month, because they're all guesstimates anyway. hoping that people pay in a certain pattern.
Right, right. But as you said it correctly, I was reviewing the district report, and basically how they're asking is what happens every month accumulatively. So if you have your budget for July, which is your first month, and then you have your budget then for August, which is your second month, so you add your July to your August and you compare it to your actual for the 2 months, and then you add your September to the 2 months, which is your 3 months, and add your cumulative actual for the 3 months and compare it. When I looked at the reporting at the district level, this is how I understood it to be.
All right, thank you.
All right. Okay, let's look at the activities. All right, so let's say for activities, you decide to have a carafe, you decide to have a fundraising dinner, and let's say a costume party or something like that. And as I said, you budget how much tickets you go sell at the price, how much persons will attend your fundraiser at the price, the same thing with the party at the price, and then you come up with your figures. At the carafe, in terms of the expenses, you know how much you will pay for the vehicle. If you have to buy gas to put in the vehicle, if you have to pay the insurance, and you know that the total cost would be about 30,000. So you expect to make a certain amount of profit on the raffle. What you can also do instead of separating the income from the expense, you could have a net amount at the top. So instead of having them 75, you have them 45, and of course in the notes you will see net or net income. It's the same thing with the dinner, based on the events you have in previous years, based on the cost you would have hosting that dinner. Let's say over the last 3 years, you estimate that the dinner will cost about 5,000. You spend 15, and in net effect is 10,000. As I said, if you want to put it as in net income 10,000, or you separate the income and the expense, it's up to you. Then costume party, same thing. And then you also would have your individual committees prepare the budget for the year, and based on the projects that they would put forward. And so each individual committee, let's say youth and education, would prepare the budget and submit it to the finance committee. Climate change and the environment would prepare the budget and submit it to the finance committee. Of course, and because of the knowledge of the finance committee can assist the individual committees in preparing the budget. So the individual committees would have a breakdown in terms of the projects and how much it would cost, hand it over to the finance committee, and they will prepare a summarized budget as you see there. And then, of course, you see all the expenses, the income against the expense, a budget that there would be a surplus of $1,000. All right. This is not really a prescribed way, but it's a way that you can do it. Let's look at record keeping. That's if you don't have any more question on the budgeting part of it.
Yes. Your fellow line Claudio from St. Martin.
Right.
Can I confirm that you're saying a budget can have a surplus? It should not be a neutral budget. It can have a surplus.
Yes, it can have a surplus. I mean, for example, if you have a business and you budget to have a certain amount of income, you will.
No, my understanding was always that if you are estimating to make 100,000, you should spend the 100,000. But you're telling me, I understood clearly, we cannot spend more, but you are saying budgets can have surpluses.
Yeah, budgets can have surpluses. I mean, if you look at it from any angle, it will balance the budget, but there are surpluses. I mean, a business won't spend all the income that they receive. A government won't spend all the money that they receive, and the same thing with a charitable organization as well. I mean, sometimes we decide to have, let's say, a big raffle in 2020, but with the expectation of doing some projects in 2022 and 2021 and 2022. So in 2020, you would have a surplus, which will be used in 2021 and 2022.
Lion Hyacinth, this is Lion Carl again from SEBA. Building on that question, I think what I am now going to ask, I understand that you can have a surplus at the end of your budget year. But my question then is, because I think that's what Lion Claudio was coming from too, can I prepare a budget where I am already indicating that I'm going to have a surplus at the end of the year? Or do I have to prepare a budget as being budget neutral? So giving me a zero balance.
A budget don't necessarily have to be budget neutral. For example, a club may have a fundraiser that will raise, let's say, $1 million. A GoFundMe or something. Would you actually budget to spend all the money in 1 year?
Okay, so you're saying based on the grandeur of what you're expecting, you can already say you can have something put aside.
Yeah, you could probably in the budget, if you want to make it neutral, you will say that these are expenditure for 2021, 2022, and so on, and it come down to zero. But if you are the president, let's say for example, for 2020, and you decide to have a major fundraiser, which probably the club never had before, and probably the projects that you plan for the year would not consume all the funds raised. I mean, would you go and force and spend it, or budget to spend it out?
Hi, this is Line Karen from Barbados Central. I think it's also dependent on the jurisdiction and how you are registered. If you're registered as a not-for-profit in some jurisdictions, you actually do have to zero out both your budget and your expenditure at the end of the year. So you need to be aware of what it applies in your jurisdiction.
Okay. Well, I was not aware that. I mean, with all in our jurisdiction, for example, our government usually record over the last few years they recorded them surpluses in their budget. So, but of course it balances, because usually have what they intend to do with the surplus, but We usually have them surpluses in the budget.
Question.
Mhm.
This is Lion Candia from the St. Martin Lions Club then.
Mhm.
So if you're budgeting a surplus, the idea is that you're supposed to mention what your intentions are for the surplus for an upcoming year. That's what you just mentioned.
No,
And
no.
then also a second question is then you're saying no deficit budget, but then you're actually using budget from a previous year to fund something for a future year. So then you would say, so then you reflect it. How do you reflect that income in that budget, the income from a previous year? Because it's not from an activity from a current year, but it's actually from an activity from a previous year that will balance your budget. So how is that recorded then?
Well, think about it. If you have a surplus from the, let's say as one of the Lions said, it depends on your jurisdiction, right? But here, if you have a surplus in 2020, you can carry over that surplus in 2021 and add it to whatever funds you'll be raising in that year, and then budget your expenses accordingly. Because the fact is that at the end of the year, you would have a lot of money in your account. Would you leave it there and say that you cannot use it because I was funds raised in a previous year?
Yeah, exactly. So then it's just going back to the premise of you can't have a negative budget. Yeah, that's all.
No, you just cannot have an
what I would recommend. Hi, just to answer that question, sorry, you can show it at the top of your revenue for the activity as a brought forward balance.
Balance, right? That's correct.
Just want to interject, Lion Hyacinth. I'm listening to the discussion, and of course, it is possible. That's Lion Ron from St. Lucia. Sorry, it is possible for a budget to have a surplus, but I would always, as a Lion, prefer to balance my budget based on the fact that, one, the point which was raised earlier, that is we're non-profit, and secondly, the fact that whatever we make must go back into the public. On that premise, I would prefer, if I budget for fundraising or for income, that I find something to do with it until that budget is balanced. It does not mean at the end of the fiscal year, I cannot have a surplus. But for me as a Lion, in terms of those two principles, being non-profit and what comes in must go out, I would prefer to balance my budget.
It will accept that, Lion. That's fine. Well, I agree with you from that point. So you find them projects in order to balance your budget. If it was not spent, remember, ensure that it's done. You do your new budget and you balance it and continue again. That's that is an okay suggestion. All right. Can we move on? Yeah. And Wendy? Right. Record keeping. As I say, all monies collected should be recorded by both the secretary and the treasurer and deposited intact. Intact, meaning all monies collected supposed to go to the bank in the club bank account. Cash received should not be used to pay club expenses before it is deposited in the bank. All expenses to be paid should be paid by check. Cash should only be used to pay expenses when it is absolutely not practical to use a check. All right. So yes, you can have a petty cash, as some clubs may have. I don't recommend it, but for accounting purposes and so on, I prefer all expenses be done by a check. Next slide. When cash has to be used for payment, you should write a check, cash it, and the cash delivered to the payee with all the particulars written on the check stub or on the check payment voucher. Evidence of cash payment, such as a receipt, invoice, must be requested from the payee with some form of signature as evidence that they received the cash. And the documents should be attached to the check payment voucher. All right, next slide. Usually, this is how we would record the cash received, let's say, from at a meeting. So at a meeting, the treasurer would have something like this. I mean, this is not a prescribed format, but I'm giving you this as an example. So for dues, you would have received $1,500 for dues, for raffles, $500, till twisting, $250, anniversary dinner, $2,500, which come up to $4,750, the total amount deposited to the bank. And if you look on the side, I said breakdown. So of course, it would have individuals who would have paid the dues, and the names must be recorded. Then same thing with the anniversary dinner, people would have sold tickets and they would have bring in their monies. So you must record who did that. So at the bottom of this page, you can write down the names of who paid the dues and who carry in the monies for the dinner. And that should be done on the same page or the same document with the cash receipts. This is for the administrative account. If we go to the, and of course you have to have a members ledger whereby you should record the members' receipts and payments and how much they are owing. That's a separate ledger for itself. For the activities account, because here at the costume party, at that meeting, you received $4,500. And the reason why I didn't have a breakdown there, I assuming that no tickets were sold, was a party, open party. They collected at the door. They had a bar. They collect monies at the bar. All the monies was counted at the party, put in this night safe and deposited. So there wouldn't be any person bringing in money. But let's say for the carafe, which will bring in our $15,000, you have a breakdown, and for the other, and for the fundraising dinner, you have people bringing money, have a breakdown. Of course, this will be recorded in the members' ledger, so at least you know how much owing and how much they received. In terms of the payment, as I said, all payments should be done by check. Each check written must be accompanied by a check payment voucher, together with the relevant supporting documents such as bills, receipts, and so on attached. A short description of the reason for the payment should be written on the voucher. Vouchers must be properly filed for easy retrieval. Of course, you remember you have to do the audit and so on. All right. Next slide. This is a simple check payment voucher. It's a sample. I give you a simple one where I just you put what you buy in 2 boxes of paper. Is for stationery, $100. The total amount is $150. The person who prepared it had to sign it, and then somebody authorized it. If the treasurer prepare it, the president authorize it, because of course the payment must be authorized by the board, or somebody else on the board can authorize it. Probably you might say only the secretary and the president can authorize it. At the end of the month, you'll do a cash analysis, a cash receipt analysis of all the the monies received. You would have received monies at the business meeting, at the social meeting, and at the board meeting, or probably at other meetings. We break it down in terms of the dues, the raffle, the anniversary dinner, the entail twisting, that you total each column. So at least you know for the month of July, you receive $3,500 for dues, raffle $950, anniversary dinner $6,000, tail twisting $400. So this is the monthly analysis for the cash receipt for your administrative account. Then next slide, you do the same thing for the payment, the date, who you paid, the check number, the check you used to pay, the amount, and the different categories. It might be electricity, telephone, anniversary dinner, and stationery, and each column has the totals. So we know for the month of July, that you pay electricity $150, you pay telephone $50, you pay anniversary dinner $1,500, and stationery $200, international dues and $15, and these are the payments you would have made for the month of July. Now you will take this analysis and do your income and expenditure statement. Next slide. Well, of course, you have to do the analysis for the cash received for the activities account as well. It's the same in principle as how I explained it for the administrative account. The business meeting, you will receive monies and so on. And the same principle for the activities account for the check payment analysis, the date, the pay, and check number, the amount, and of course, for the month of July, you see all the totals there. All right? And this would be your statement that you will be bringing to the board and quarterly given to general membership. And these figures derive from the analysis that you would have had, well, which we just went through there. So the receipts are the dues, the expenses in the check payment analysis. As I said, if you would have did your annual budget and then break it down into months, so then you could compare your July actual against your July budget, and then you see your variance. At the board meeting, you could discuss why 10 figures are varying. So for example, if you had budgeted $4,500 for dues, and you know that 20 members usually pay their dues in July, you could see who are the members who have paid as usual in July. As I said, these figures I put it as examples. So this is it. So under the expenses, international dues, you budget to pay $1,500, you actually pay the $1,500. The district dues, you budget to pay $550, you actually pay the $550. Stationery, you budget to spend $200, but you actually spend $150, and so on. And of course, under the financial report, these are the kind of discussion you will be having at the board meeting. Next slide. Well, the activities is the same thing as well. The same thing, you take it from the cash receipt analysis and the check payment analysis, and you plug in the figures there. You compare it against your budget, and if there are any variances, that would be a discussion at your board meeting. All right. I know that some people do budget and the actual come back exact, but we all know that a budget is just guesstimate, but we try to guess it as accurately as possible. All right. The bank balance, if you look at TM bank balance, which you will be also presenting to the board, you put TM opening balance, TM surplus, as was explained, as had been shown in the income and expense statement. It's supposed to add back and come back to exactly what is on your bank statement. If not, you do a reconciliation and it's supposed to agree to your reconciled balance. I didn't give an example of how to go about doing a reconciliation. I guess that probably is another session. But your opening balance plus your surplus, I'm supposed to give you what them supposed to be your closing balance on your bank statement, and this would also accompany your report to the board. Next slide. All right. Let's look at some important points, and I'll be going through them kind of quickly. Your first responsibility as treasurer is to ensure that all members get a statement of their account and follow up on payments when necessary. In collaboration with the secretary, prepare and send out statement to members with outstanding balances. Members who are fully paid, you should give them a good standing card. Pay attention to different type of membership category, because some category carries them different dues amount. Prepare and submit monthly statement to the board of directors and semi-annually and annual statement to the general membership, which is most of the thing I would have speak about them before. Next slide. Learn how to access LCI website and create an account. Check your monthly statement on LCI, ensure that there are no outstanding balances. If there are outstanding balances, then verify and pay them within 30 days. Also, access your district website, complete and submit the treasurer's monthly report. It's important so that the district can see what is happening in your club. It is the treasurer's responsibility to keep the club in good standing, both with international and the district. Bear in mind that your club can be suspended or even cancelled for non-payment of dues. Familiarize yourself with the suspension policy, especially international suspension policy. All right. Advise the board to drop delinquent members. The club cannot be paying for members who are not paying their dues, and year after year, they are still in the club. Ensure that the club bank signatures are changed at the beginning of your linistic year. Reconcile your bank account on a monthly basis. For clubs who have online banking, check your balances often, so at least you know what's in the bank and you would not be spending more than you have in the bank. Every check written from the club account should be 2 signatories, and always ensure that you as the treasurer, one of them is yours, because you are responsible for the money. So all check going out, you should ensure that your signature is on one of them. Of course, if you are away and you're not present, the president and the secretary can sign, but on your return, go and verify all the checks that was paid. The Constitution said that no person shall be eligible to hold office in the club unless he or she is in good standing. All board members must be financial at all times, because if you are not financial, that means you cannot speak. Hello?
Yes, if I may interject a minute, line Hyacinth, on your point where you touched for a second there on the online banking. For example, with our club, we barely ever write out a check. It's all done online. So you don't have the consensus of like 2 signatures, just where the net banking chip was signed up for. But they're, how do I say, it's of course documented and with a comment put in for which activity or what the source was of where the payment was coming from. But how do you, is there a special way that we should mention that or bring that forward? What is your take on that?
Well, the thing about it is that all payments, whether it's done in check or online, all payments should be authorized by the board, and supporting documents must be presented at the board for authorization. So, for example, if you have to pay the electricity bill, I would encourage that, for example, you and the president initial that bill, take a voucher, take a payment voucher, attach the bill to it, sign it off, and then go ahead and do the online payment. So that when the bank statement comes back, at least you can check that bank statement to some authority from the board. Because I am assuming that is only one person who makes the online payment.
Yes.
Right. So if payments are made online and I am the auditor coming in, how would I verify that this payment was authorized by the board? And of course, that you alone authorize it.
Okay, yeah, we right now, generally, basically, the pieces would be submitted to the, how do you say, to the board of directors.
Right.
But we also had made a decision a few years back because we do have some projects that are ongoing, like a Meals on Wheels project. So you have a kitchen running every day, bills coming in left and right. So with these, we had also made a provision that bills for the coming in during the month could be paid once they don't exceed a certain amount and then be, how do you say, accounted for during the once a month board meeting for that previous meeting before that.
Okay.
But that was set on anticipated set expenses that come in for purchases.
Right, but even though it's anticipated at the board meeting, you should bring all expenses to the board for ratification. Even though it happened already, but it should at least come to the board and for ratification and recorded in the minutes, so that when the auditor asks for the minutes, they could verify that all payments was authorized by the board.
Okay, I have we do like a spreadsheet where all of this is maintained and kept, and that goes as an addendum to the minutes when we have it prepared. So monthly with the treasurer's report, that entire detail goes down to show and reflect every single budget line and every expenditure, including bank charges that are expended, and then taken up as such as an addendum into the minutes. Is that
right? Of course, yeah, that can work. Then that's fine.
okay? Thank you.
Right. Right. As I said, all board members should be financial, because in order to make decision as an individual or to vote, you must be financial. No person shall be eligible to hold office in, okay, right. So that's what I was saying. Bear in mind that any member in good standing may inspect any accounting or other records of the club upon request at a reasonable time and place. So any member in good standing can come to you as treasurer and ask, I would like to inspect your records. You cannot say no, but you all could agree for a special time and place where you all could sit down and let the member inspect it. Good standing means all outstanding balances must be paid up. All. Ensure all committee prepares the budget at the beginning of the year and the financial report at the end of the project. As the treasurer, you can assist them. But if you do a project, you have a budget for it, and at the end of the project, you prepare a report with actual against budget and probably some explanation in terms of what happened. Prepare statements for the government bodies where required. Register with the Anti-Money Laundering Commission if it is a requirement. In Grenada, it is a requirement, and we have to register with the Anti-Money Laundering Commission every year. Ensure that financial records for the previous year's administration is prepared and audited before the district governor's visit. You know that you have to give the district governor audited statements every year. Ensure that it is done so that on the person's arrival, it's there. Well, I know I run out of time. I don't know if I thought I may have some time to demonstrate how to sign in LCI and the district website. Probably we can do that another time if you permit me. I assume, well, it's new people, so. And in conclusion, pay all outstanding bills, including your dues, in a timely manner. The good name of your club and relationship with its service providers are very important, and it all depends on you as a treasurer. All right, next slide. Any question?
If no one else, Line Hilton, Hyson, this is Line Carl from Cuba. I just wanted to ask you, pertaining to activities, I just for clarification, contributions to LCIF, are those considered an activity? So if we make a donation to, let's say, the Disaster Relief Fund or to the Measles Project of LCIF, is that considered a activity?
As far as I am aware, I may be wrong, but as far as I'm aware, it is part of activities. Because my understanding, I don't know if the member from the St. Martin Club could help me there, but you can take money from the activities account and donate it to LCIF. The only thing about this is the MGF part of it. I don't know. Can anyone help me on that? Well, help us. Sandra?
This is Line Claudio. There's a lot of discussion on it because, again, as you said with the MGF, the MGF goes towards a certain cause. So if we decide that we are going to put $1,000 towards environment, it is a community activity. Now that it is going to an MGF, now MGFs, as you know, in Lions International, for us in the Caribbean, it goes primarily to Lions, but it has also gone to corporate sponsors. You know, it has also gone to other persons. So I have heard many discussions about it, but in my eyes, if it's going towards one of LCIF's activities, so like environment, site, or whatever it is, in my eyes, considered an activity.
Okay, thank you, Claudio. That's my understanding as well, but as you said, there is a lot of discussion on it, so I wish that we come to some kind of conclusion on that. Any other questions? If not, I would like to thank each and every one of you. As I said, this was my first try at it. I hope I have met your expectation, and I'll be available to try it another time. And Sandra, thank you very much.
Thank you, Len Harrison. Before I ask Len Roslin to move the official vote of thanks, I would just like to invite all the Lions and Leos participating in this session and to remind that the next session will be facilitated by Lion Septimus from Region 2. And then we have a session for secretaries at 8 p.m. and that will be facilitated by Lion Leandra. So at this time, I would invite Lion Rosalind Hudson, incoming treasurer for the Lions Club of Barbados East, to move the vote of thanks on behalf of the 70 Lions and Leos who participated in this forum.
Hi, good evening. On behalf of the incoming Lions, we want to express our sincere thanks for the information that has just been disseminated. It should be, it was quite useful, and we thank you very much for your cooperation.
Seemed like Lan Rosalind was having a little feedback.